Welcome to Mwalimu Ogeke YouTube channel. This is March 2022 KCSE Predictor Series 1 Paper 1 Mathematics Paper 1. I have just done prediction for section A first. I'll do that is for section B in another day. Follow this tutorial up to the end so that you be able to see the predictions that I've made and also be able to follow such questions and do related questions in preparation for the KCSE 2021 candidates that will be done in March 2022. Question number 1, I have predicted on fractions. That is without using a calculator, evaluate. Now we have 3 1/3 plus 1 over 9 divided by 1 1/3. Remember the question here without using a calculator. So if you use a calculator and get this answer to be like this is, remember I've done just 3 times 3, it is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10, so it is 10 over 3. Plus 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10, it is 10 over 9. Then divided by, this is 3 plus 1, which is 4 over 5. That is, I'm making them in proper fraction. Then all over, so I've made this one, 9 times 4 is 36, 36 plus 2 is 38, 38 over 9, minus, this is 18 plus 5 is 23 over 9, then times 2 over 3. So that is under this bracket. And therefore, remember this one you can get now, this is, you add these two, you get it to be 40 over 9. So if you use the calculator direct and get 40 over 9, then times 3 over 4, without showing what I've done here, remember I've shown here, whereby I've shown this, the LCM between the 2 is 9, then 3 comes to 9, 3 comes to 9, 3 times, then 3 times 10 is 30, plus 9 comes to 9 1 times 10 is 10, so this gives you 40 over 9, which I've done here 40 over 9 times 3 over 4 because there is a division, so you do the reciprocal of it, so times 3 over 4, all over, you also do the for numerator here, the LCM is 9, so being 9, 9 comes to 9 1 time, so it is 38 minus 23, so that gives you 15 over 9, then times 2 over 3, that is what I've done here, so that I cancel here 3 ones, 3 times, then we also have 3 times, and then this was 40, 4 ones, 4 here is 10, so we shall be having 10 over 3, so we have 10 over 3, all over 3 ones, 3 5, so 5 times 2 is 10 over 9, all over 10 over 9, so it's like 10 over 3 times 9 over 10, which gives you 3, so that is the answer. Remember, if you just brought here, that is 40 over 9, or 10 over 3 direct, you shall have used the calculator, so you must show that you have not used the calculator. Then question number 2 is that I use mathematical table to find the square of 86.46. So if you find using a calculator, remember you have been told to use a mathematical table. So if you come in your answer and give a square as 74.75 direct, without showing the procedure, you have not used the calculator, because for a calculator, I must see that you have written this. Remember, the square table has from 1 to 9, and therefore there is no 86, and therefore you must write this in standard form. I must see that you have written it in standard form. That is 8.64, 6 times 10 raised to power 1, because you move one step to the left, raised to power 1, and then you square it. Meaning that we can square this part separately and this part separately if you open the bracket, and therefore we shall have 8.646 squared times 10 also squared. Therefore we look this from the table. From the table you go to 8.6 on the square table, you go on 8.6 on this column 4, 8.6, then you look at column 4, you will find 74.65. And then you look at the addition column, look at column 6, you'll find it is 10. That is, it is 10. And therefore, it would be plus 0.10. You add that, you'll get 57, that is 74.75, then times 10 raised to power 2, which means power 2, you move to the right 2 steps. If you move 1, 2, it will be 74, 75. So that is how you find the square of 86.46, that is the square. Now we find the reciprocal of 27.56. 27.56, the square, the reciprocal. On the reciprocal table, so you must use a reciprocal. You cannot use a calculator. So ensure that you go to the table. So you'll have 1 divided by 27.56. That is what it means by reciprocal. Reciprocal is 1 all over that number. So 1 all over 27.56. That means, remember, reciprocal we also have from 1 to 9, and therefore 27 you cannot find it. You have to write it in standard form. So it will be 1 all over 2.756 times 10 power 1. So the reciprocal of power 1 is the opposite, is power 10 power negative 1. So the reciprocal of this is 10 power negative 1. So it will be 10 power negative 1 times the reciprocal of this one, 1 over 2.756. So on the table of reciprocals, check on 2.7, then on column 5, 2.7 on column 5, you get 0.3636. And then you go on the subtraction. Remember, on this case, that's reciprocals, we have the subtraction side. You go on the subtraction side, you look at column 6, you will find 8. So 8, we write it as 0.0008, and then we subtract. If we subtract, we get this 16. 16 minus 8 gives you 8, and we made with 2 gives you 28. So we should have 0.3628. Then times 10 power negative 1, or times 1 over 10, times 1 over 10, and that gives you, you move 1 step behind, so it will give, if you move 1 step behind, it will be 0.03628. 0.03628. 0.03628 as the reciprocal. So if you have the reciprocal, the question is hence, the question is asking that hence or otherwise calculate the value. So if you are asking about hence, that means you must use the values from above. So we have got the square of this. We have also got the square root of this. So for us to evaluate this, it is that square of this that we got times the reciprocal that we got direct. That is 74.75 times 0.03628. If you multiply, you get 271.192. So to 1 decimal place, because the question was to 1 decimal place. Was it to 1 decimal place? No, it wasn't. So even if you left at this point, you are correct, or you write 1 decimal place as that, then you are also correct. But it's good you leave it at this point if you are not told. And when decimal places, you leave it at that point. So the next question, number 3, the question is saying that the sum of the interior angle of an n-sided polygon is 1440. Find the value of n and hence reduce the name of the polygon. So if you are told that the sum of interior angle, remember the formula for a sum of interior angle is 2n minus 4 into 90, which when you open the bracket, it gives you 180n minus 360. So meaning that the sum, the whole sum, which is 1440, equals to 180n minus 360. Like terms together, we bring this will be addition. So it will be 1440 plus 360 equals to 180n. So we divide by, if you add these two, gives you 1800 equals to 180n. We divide by 180 on both sides. This cancels, we remain with n here. It will be 10. N is 10, and a 10-sided figure is what we call a decagon. We call it a decagon. We call it a decagon. We call it a decagon. Question number 4. Solve for x and y in the equation. So the equation is 2 power 5y plus 1 times 5 power 2x plus 2 equals to 1250. Remember, here is 2 power of that, and this is 5 power of this, so there is no common base. And here, we can only express this in bases of 2 and 5. And therefore, 1250, remember 5 power 4 gives you 625, and 2 power 1. So that means if 6 power 4 times 2 power 1, or just times 2, it gives you 1250. So that means this is 5 power 4. You express this in terms of bases of 5 and 2, bases of 5 and 2. You express this in bases of 5 and 2. So if you express this in bases of 5 and 2, it will be 5 power 4 times 2 power 1. 2 is the same as 2 power 1. N number is 2 power 1 is that number. So after doing that, then we equalize the one with the same base. So we will equalize 2 power 5y plus 1 to 2 power 1. 2 power 5y plus 1 is equals to 2 power 1. Therefore, if the base are the same, the powers are the same. And therefore, 5y plus 1 equals to 1. 5y plus 1 equals to 1. So we take this the other side, it will be 5y equals to 0, and therefore y equals to 0. So if y you have it as 0, you also have this other side, that is 5 into power of 2x plus 2 equals to 5 into 4. So base are the same and the powers therefore are the same, and therefore 2x plus 2 equals to 4. 2x plus 2 equals to 4. And therefore, if you take it to the other side, we shall remain with 2x equals to 4 minus 2. So 2x equals to 2, and therefore we divide by 2 all through, we get x to be equal to 1. And therefore, the value of x in this question is 1, and that of y is 0. So you get your mark there for the answers, and your mark for this, for expressing this, and the mark for also expressing this other one. This and this one gives you that, expressing this and that gives you 1 mark. So we go to the next question. That's a question on inequality. That is the region R in the figure below is defined by the inequalities L1, L2, L3. So this is our L1, the line 1 is here. This is our L2, and this is line L1. So our region is here. So we are asking that find the 3 inequalities. First of all, there is a common L3 we can easily tell. L3, remember, it is this our 0, and therefore it's where the values of x are greater than 0. And therefore it is x is greater, because I have explained here that this is a block line, a straight line without dashes. So we call it a block line. For a block line, it means it's either greater and equal to or less and equal to. But for a broken line like this one with dashes, it is either less or greater. It is either less or greater. That is what it means. And this one means because that means that value is inclusive. And therefore, when it is block, it means that it's greater or equal to or less or equal to. And therefore, when we go to our question here, when we move to our equation, here is that for this one, it was supposed to be, because this is a straight line, it is a block line, the values of x are here, and therefore it is, the region is on x is greater or equal to 0. Greater or equal to 0. So that is one inequality, that is for L3. L3 is direct, that one has no reason to worry, because you just copy it, is x is greater or equal to 0. Now for L2, we go to L2 first, or L1. Let's deal with L1 first. L1 is here. So you need to note on the line, see where we have direct point. We have a direct point here, so we can use this point. That is because this one you can identify. This point, if this is 2, this is 1. So this point is 1, and this is 2.5. But if you are dealing with 2.5 points, I don't like them. And that's why I had to look for a point where I'm not struggling, like this one. This point is x is 0. The value of x is 0. At this point, the value of x is 0. And the value of y here is 3, so 0, 3. And I also have a point here that I'm not struggling, because for this one I will have, even this one is okay. You can use this point here, which is 4, 1. 4, 1 can be used. This one can also be used. But this one is very accurate. We are very sure it is 6, 0. So we can use this one 6, 0 and 0, 3. But even if you use these other points that are accurate, like this one, this 5, but this 0.5, but you can use this one 4 and 1 is okay. The points you are very sure, the point of intersection, and you can be able to see them, like the ones, you can use them. So find the gradient of this line. If you have this point 6, 0 and this point. So if I start from this point, I'll say it is 0 minus 3, or over 6 minus 0. 0 minus 3 over 6 minus 0, this gives me negative 3 over 6. So negative 3 over 6 is the same as negative 1 over 2. So that is the gradient of our line L1. So after finding the gradient of our L1, we find the equation of this L1. the equation we equate this one negative 1 over 2, so we say negative 1 over 2 equals to, we take another point on this line to be elsewhere here and call that point xy. So we will say that now remember it's change in y over change in x to get the gradient, and therefore the gradient from using another point to get the same gradient, if I use another point xy to get the same gradient, another point xy which is on this line, and I have picked this point. If I pick this, even if you pick this point, you will be correct. You will get the same answer like me. So you can pick this point and another point xy. So I'll pick this point, another point xy, and use the same gradient, which is negative 1 over 2, equals to that point y minus 0, because the value of y here is 0, all over x minus 6. So we cross multiply, it will be 2 into y minus 0, it will give you 2y equals to negative 1 into x minus 6. Negative 1 times x gives you negative x, then negative 1 times negative 6 gives you plus 6. So 2y equals to negative x plus 6. And therefore, if we divide by 2 or through, we get y equal to negative half x plus 3, because 6 divided by 2 is 3. So negative half x plus 3, that is the equation of this line, the equation of this line L1. And therefore, we need to pick a point, one point on the region. On this region, we pick one point. If I pick a point here, I've picked 1, 2. A point here, remember this is x, the value of x is 1, because this 2, this is 0, and therefore this is 1. I'll pick a point 1, 2 here to use as test point. So test point 1, 2. So where in the equation, where I have y, I place 2, and where I have x, I place 1. So it will mean 2 equals to, that is negative half times x, which is 1, it gives you negative half. So negative half plus 3, it will give you negative half plus 3 gives you 2.5 positive. So 2.5 and 2, you realize that 2 is less than 2.5. If 2 is less than 2.5, you look now at the line, the kind of line you have. It's not broken. If it was broken, then we could have replaced with just a less in the equation. But in this case, it is continuous. And if it's continuous line, you replace with less or equal to. So I'll go to my equation here and write y instead of an equal sign. Now I put y is less or equal to that equation. So it will be y is less or equal to the equation, which is negative half x plus 3. So you do the same for L2. You pick 2 points that you can use to find the gradient. Like I've tried to look at points that are direct, like this one. This one, I am using this line. So at this point, we have 2, 0. It is direct. But if you look here, this point can give you struggle and stress. It is not, because this is 0.5, and I don't like dealing with the points when I have all numbers unless I have no option. And then I have here, I have no point. This one, I'll be having a point that I cannot even estimate. So you look at a point like this one, it is 2, 0. There is no point. You look for another one. If you go ahead in this same line, you are trying to look for a point that has no points, that is straight, that is like this one. You come here, it is not on this point, so you still go here, it is cannot give you, but you go here, you realize it's exactly at 0. The value of x here is 0, and the value of y is negative 2, so I can use this one and this one. So if I use this one and this one, I start from, if I start from here, I'll say this gradient is, we start from here, or I start from here. If I start from here, it will be 0 minus 2. So it is the same as 0 plus 2. Or even if I started from this point to that, I maintain it, I'll still get the same gradient. So if I start from here, it is 0 minus 2, it will be positive 2. So positive 2 all over, I started from here, 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 over 2 is 1. But even if I start from here, I still get the same answer. Negative 2 minus 0 all over is negative 2. All over 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So it's negative 2 all over negative 2 still gives you 1. So you still get a gradient of 1. So if you get a gradient of 1, you have 1 over 1 equals to another point pick another point xy and use another point. You can use this point or this one. I've decided to use this. So it will be y minus 0 all over x minus 2. Y minus 0 all over x minus 2 equals to 1 over 1. You cross multiply, it will be y equals to x minus 2. Y equals to x minus 2. That is the equation. So I use the same test point 1, 2. I use the same test point 1, 2. I place 2 here and I place 1 here. So if I place 2 here, it will be 2 equals to 1 minus 2. It gives you negative 1. 1 minus 2, it gives you negative 1. So 2 equals to negative 1. And you realize that in this case, 2 is greater than negative 1. 2 is greater than negative 1. And therefore, you replace in the equation with greater, and then you look at the line. The line is continuous. So it will be y is greater or equal to x minus 2. Simple. So that is the simplest way of doing inequalities. So if you are given a graph and you are asked to deduce the inequalities, that is the way to do. That's the way to do. You first of all find the gradient, you find the equation, you have a test point at the center. At endpoint, you pick endpoint. I could have picked even this one because it's possible. This point is 1, it could have been 1, 1. So even if you pick 1, 1 and use as the test point, still you can get the same answer. So that is how you do when you are given a graph of inequalities and you're asked to deduce the inequalities. Question number 6 is that two boys and a girl shared some money. The elder boy got 4 over 9 of it. The younger got 2 over 5 of the remainder, and the girl got the rest. Find the percentage share of the younger boy to the girl's share. So we let the amount to be x. And therefore the older boy got 4 over 9 of x, and the younger boy got, remember, he got 2 over 5 of the remainder. The remainder was, remember the whole thing is 9. The whole thing is 9. So it is 9 minus 4 is 5. So got 2 over 5, that is 2 over 5 of the remainder. 2 over 5 of, so 2 over 5x times 5, 2 over 5 times 5 over 9x. So that gives you 2 over 9x. That is what the boy got. And the girl got the remainder. So what remained is x minus this plus this. So it is x minus, you add the 2. So it is x minus 6 over 9, which is 3 over 9, and that is the same as a third x. So that is what the girl got. The girl got a third x. So there is a mark for the finding for the boy what he got and for what the girl got. Then from there, you are asked to find the percentage share of the younger boy to the girl's share. So the ratio is 2 over 9x into a third x. 2 over 9x all over a third x. X and x will cancel. We shall remain with 2 over 9 times 100. We shall remain with 2 over 9 times 3 over 1 times 100. That gives you 66.67%. So that is the percentage share of the younger boy and the girl. Then we are asking another question, is that the figure below is a velocity time graph for a car. It is not drawn to scale. And therefore you are asked to find the total distance traveled by the car. Total distance is equivalent to the area under the graph. So that is the area of the trapezium. Area of the trapezium, we know it is a half into brackets a plus b times h. So that is half into a. Our a is this 24 plus b is from here to here, which is 24. 20 minus 4 is 16. That is half into 24 plus 16. Then times the height from here to here, which is 80. So we multiply, we get a half times, this is 40 times 80, that gives you 20, because this gives you 20 times 80, which is 1,600 meters. So that is how you get your 2 marks without much struggle. Then you are asking the next question is that we can get the deceleration. Deceleration of this body is from here to here. So it is the final velocity, which is 0. Remember, it's decelerating, so it went to 0. It is 0 minus 80. All over the time taken. The time taken between here is 4 seconds. So it is 80 all over 4, which gives you 20 meters per second. That is the deceleration per second square. Acceleration, it is per second square. That is the SI unit. Then the next question is that 2 containers have base area of 750 centimeters square and 120 centimeters square respectively. Calculate the volume of the larger container in liters, given that the volume of the smaller container is 400 centimeters square. So in this case, what we do first is to find the area scale factor, because we are given the area of the larger and the area of the smaller. So 750 over 120, which gives you this 0 and the 0 cancels. 3 comes here 4 times, 3 comes here 25. So we shall have 25 over 4 as our area scale factor. So if you have the area scale factor, we can easily find the linear scale factor, because we are interested to find the volume scale factor so that we equate with the volume of the smaller. So to get the volume scale factor, we need first of all to get the linear scale factor from the area scale factor. So linear scale factor is equal to square root of area scale factor, which is equal to square root of 25 over 4. That gives you 5 over 2. 5 over 2, that's the square root. So our linear scale factor is 5 over 2. And to get the volume scale factor is linear scale factor cubed, which is equal to 5 over 2 cubed, and that gives you 125 over 8. And that means that if we let the volume of the larger, to be V, so that means 125 over 8 equals to volume of the larger out of volume of the smaller, which is 400. So we cross multiply, it means 8V is equals to 125 times 400, meaning that to get V is 125 times 400 divided by 8. So that gives me 50,000 divided by 8, that gives me volume to be 6,250. But we know that 1 liter, because we are asking to find the volume of the larger container in liters. So you must reread the instruction to see what the question is asking. In liters. So for us to get in liters, we know that 1 liter is 1,000 centimeters cubed. What about 650 centimeters cubed? It is 650 centimeters cubed divided by 1,000. That gives you 6.25 liters. 6.25 liters. So that is the volume of the larger container. The next question is that given that the column vector A is -1, 4, B -2, -3, -2, C -1, -1, and that P is 2A minus 4B plus 3C. Express P as a column vector. To get P as a column vector, remember P equals to now 2. You replace A with this one, so it is 2, -1, 4 minus 4 into -3, 2 plus 3 into -2, -1, that's our C. So we open the bracket, it will be -2, 8. This is -2, 8 minus, this gives you 4 and this gives you -12 and -8 plus that is -6. -6, -3. So if you get that, next thing is that we need to now evaluate. So we shall be having, we open these brackets, we shall be having -2 minus minus becomes plus. -2 plus 12, it is -2 plus 12. Then plus minus is minus, so it's -6, and this is 8 minus it becomes plus 8. Then -3, that is -2 plus 12 minus 6, and 8 plus 8 minus 3. So this is 10 minus 6 is 4, and this 16 minus 3 is 13. So that is the column vector. It's a symbol as that, column vector. And the next question is that simplify the following expression by reducing it to a single fraction. We simplify by reducing this to a single fraction. So what we do, we find the LCM of the whole thing. 4, 2, and 3, where it is 12. 3 comes here 12 to 12 4 times. So we shall be having 4 into brackets this, 4 into brackets that number. Then minus, as 2 comes to 12 6 times. So it is 6 into all of this. 6 into 3 minus 2. Then minus, because this is a minus, so minus. 4 goes to 12 3 times, 3 into 1 minus x. So we open the bracket there, we shall be having 8x minus 12, 8x minus 12, then minus 6x. Because of this minus and this becomes plus 12, then minus 3, it is minus 3, and this minus and this becomes positive, so plus 3x all over 12. So like terms together, this 8x minus 6x, it gives you 2x. So if you get 2x, then plus 3x, it gives you 5x. 5x minus, we now do for the number, we shall be having negative 12 plus 12 is 0. So if we have 0, so it will be minus 3. So minus 3 over 12, that is the simplified form of that question. We go to the next question, that is question number 11. Question number 11 is that 30 men working at a rate of 10 hours a day can complete a job in 14 days. Find how long it will take 40 men working at the rate of 7 hours a day to complete the same job. So what to do is just write men hours a day. So 30 takes 10 and 14 days, 47, and then the days is x. So we need to find this x. So what to do, assume this is not there, just place this, assume it is not existing. Or first of all, assume this is not there. So ask yourself, 30, if that man is 14 days, if that man is 14 days, what about 40? If that man is 14 days, 40, will it be more or less? Remember that men are working for 14 days, leave around the hours. That men are working for 14 days. 40 will work for more or less. Obvious, 40 men, because they are more, they will take less days. So if they are taking less days, it is less over more. So it is 30 over 40. Then times, we assume this is not existing. Then we ask about hours. If 10 hours, if people are working for 10 hours, we don't know how many they are, but they are 10, they are working for 10 hours, they are taking 14 days. So if they work for 7 hours, if they work for 7 hours, it is automatic they will take more days. So it is more over less, which is 10 over 7. Then times the 14, so that you get, if you manipulate all this, you get 15 days. So that is how we reason this question. This question, that is how we reason. When you see such a question, that is the same way you reason. If you reason another way, like people say, like 30 times 10 times 14 or 40 times 7, yes, for this one it will work, but some other question, they don't work. So that one does not always work that way. If you just multiply that straight out of this, it is not always the case. We go to the next question. A car uses 1 liter of petrol for every 8 kilometers. The car was to travel 480 kilometers and had 15 liters of petrol at the beginning of the journey. It was to go for 80 kilometers. At the beginning of the journey, it had 15 liters. And it is using 1 liter for every 80 kilometers. So, first of all, we know that 1 liter is 8 kilometers. What about 480 kilometers? How many liters will it take? It is 480 divided by 4. The total liters to be used is 480 divided by 8, which is 60 liters. But we know that the car had 15 liters at the beginning of the journey. So extra petrol that was needed, it is 60 minus 15, which is 45 liters. So the question is that each liter is costing 112 shillings. How much did it cost for extra petrol added? The extra petrol was to cost 45, that is the number of liters that was extra, then times 112, which is 5,040 shillings. So that is how simple that question was. The next question is that we find the greatest common divisor of this and this, the GCD. Now for the greatest common divisor, you look for a common factor with the common factor that is less. That is, if we go to a common factor between this and this, we'll see 9, the number is not common, but if we go for x, there is a common. X cubed and x, the common is, x is common, but x is here and x is also here. So the list is x, which is common. So we pick x. That is why we call it common divisor. So x is common. So we pick x because x can divide here. X can divide here. So we pick x. We go for a y is here and y is here. So we pick for the last one, which is common, because y squared can come here. So we pick y squared. That is, you pick the smaller. That which is common, you pick the smaller. That's the GCD. So it will be x. It is only the one that is common, and you pick the smaller. Like x cubed and x, you pick x. Y squared and y cubed, you pick, y power 4, you pick y squared, because it's the smallest. So the GCD is x, y squared. Hence, when you hear the term hence, factorize complete the expression this. So that means we want us to use this one, so we bring that one, we factorize on this. If we factorize on this, like I have done, x can cancel here and remain with x squared. Remember it has cancelled, and the y squared can cancel out, so we shall remain with 9x squared minus x and x cancels, y will come here to y squared, but the 4 had no factor, so it is minus 4y squared. Remember, after you have done that, you realize that this is a difference of 2 squares, because this has a square root, and this has a square root, this has a square root, and this has a square root, and there's a minus. So that's the difference of 2 squares. And therefore, this is the square root of this is 3, and the square root of this is x, and the square root of this is 2, and this is y. And therefore, this will be 3x plus 2y into brackets 3x minus 2y. That one you have done several times. That's a squared minus b squared is equals to a into a plus b into a minus b. And therefore, now the factorized expression is this x y squared into 3x minus 2y. This one becomes this. So it is this is the simplified expression. We go to the next question. That's question number 14. The question is talking about a rectangular block is 50 centimeters long and 15 centimeters wide. If its mass is 18 kg and its density equals to 2.4 grams, find its height. So the first thing we do, we know that the density is equals to mass over volume. But, and the volume, of course, if we need it, we say volume is equals to mass over density. But we are told the volume, so if you sketch the height, we don't know. That's what we are finding. We have 50 and this 15. So the mass, because here is in grams, we change this mass to be in grams, so times 1,000. So 2.4, which is the density, equals to mass, which is 18 times 1,000, or 15 times 50 times h. So if you multiply this, gives you 18,000, and this gives you 15 times 50 times h. This gives you 7,500 h. So we take this and this, we bring 2.5, so that we have 7,500 h is equals to 18,000 over 2.4. So that we divide by, this gives you 7,500. If you divide this using your calculator, you get 7,500. So 7,500 h is equals to 7,500. We divide by 7,500 both sides, we get h to be 1 centimeter. That is, our height is 1 centimeter. You are done with that question. You go to the next question, number 15. The question is that use prime factor of 1764 and 2744 to evaluate. So first of all, we write the prime factors of 1764. We get it as 2 squared times 3 squared times 7 squared. We also find the prime factors of 2744. I must see this one, or using a 3 diagram, whichever you want to use. So you need to get this as 2 cubed times 7 cubed. 2 cubed times 7 cubed. So if we have the 2, so that means this one equals to this. This one equals to whatever you have in square root, over whatever you have here in cube root. So remember, it's cube root, the factors of 2. So in each 2, you pick, this is 2 squared, there are 2 groups of 2. Remember, this is like power of a half. So if it's power of a half, if you multiply, you open that bracket with power of a half, you multiply here by using indices. So 2 power half will remain 2. 2 power 2 times a half. 2 times half is 1. So it will remain with 2 power 1, which is the same as 2 times 3 times 7. And this cube root, remember, it is power third. So a third times 2 is 1. So it's 2 power 1 is 2. So we shall remain with 2 times 7. 2 will cancel. 7 will cancel. We will remain with 3. So 3 becomes the answer. So that is simple as that. That's what you do. The figure below shows, that is the last question in section A. The figure below shows a circle, center O, and radius 6 centimeter. Sector OAB subtends, and you're told that sector OAB subtends an angle of 100 degrees at the center of the circle shown. So we are asked to calculate to 2 decimal places the area of the shaded region. The area of the shaded region, this is a segment. There is a formula I had given in my previous tutorials that area of a segment because the other method is to find the area of the triangle, you find the area of the sector, you subtract the 2 to find the area of the shaded. But But the simplest way is just to use a formula. The tail of a segment is r squared over 2 into brackets theta times pi over 180 minus sine theta. So if you use this one, it is r is 6 squared gives you 36 over 2 into brackets 100, that is theta is 100 times pi, which is 22 over 7, or over 180 minus the sine of 100. So we shall be having 18, because this gives you 18, into this one gives you, you divide by 180, it gives you 1.746031, the minus sine of 100 is 0.9848. So when you open, it will be 18 times, you subtract this, gives you 0.761231, so you multiply 18 times that gives you 13.702158. Now to 2 decimal place, it is, you move 1, 2, it will be 13.70 centimeters square. 13.70 centimeters square. So that is the simplest way to do it, because even if you use the other method, you get the same answer. Thank you for listening to my tutorials. If you haven't subscribed, and so you subscribe so as to be with me up to the end, and remember to subscribe and like, give a comment. Question number 17 of my predictor series 1. The question is on equation of straight lines, but I feel that it can be tricked in such a way like it has been before in some KCSE papers, that 3 facets of a parallelogram ABCD are A, -7,3, B, 1, -1, and C, 5, 1, and C, 5, 1. That is on the grid provided, draw the parallelogram ABCD. Remember from here, a parallelogram is a 4-sided figure. So that means there is a point that you are not given a point D, because you are given point A, B, C, and you need to find a point D. But because you are told it's a parallelogram, you remember that if you draw A to B, and then there is an AB, so you realize that you'll be having also a CD, AB will be parallel to CD. That means that if they are parallel, the gradient of AB will be equal to the gradient of CD. Like I've said here, if you can see my comment here, is that I identify D. That is by saying that gradient of AB equals to gradient of C of DC. So if you realize that, so I assume that because first of all you can sketch, you can draw A, point A, just go to your graph and draw point A, -7,3, you locate it here, make just of course a Cartesian plane with the positives and negatives. This one is usually normal. So from there, locate these points, -7,3, -7,3, and also locate point 1, -1, point 1, -1, that is our B. Locate a point C51, locate at this point C51. So if I join A to B, then B to C, I'll be able to see that there is a point missing. I don't know where this D could be. So there is a point D missing. So that means if I join that to D and I join this, but I don't know where D is. So first of all, I need to find this D. For me to find this D, I've said that we say the gradient now of AB is parallel to the gradients of D to C, or C to D, where you don't know where D is. So first of all, we say that get the gradient of AB, it is change in Y or change in X. So the change in Y for AB, it is 3 minus -1. So 3 minus -1 is the same as 3 plus 1. This is what I've done here. 3 plus 1 all over. This is now -7 minus 1. -7 minus 1 gives you -7 minus 1. So this will be equal to a point which we don't know. This is X and Y. So it will be Y. Assume this is Y now. D is Y. minus 1 all over x minus 5. So that means we equalize the numerator and also we equalize the denominator, meaning that 3 plus 1 equals to y minus 1. So 3, I've said that 3 plus 1 equals to y minus 1. So from there you can find the value of y. Because 3 plus 1 is 4. So you bring 1 this other side, so y becomes, this is 4 plus now 1, y becomes 5. Y becomes, that is y minus 1 equals to 4, y is 5. And also, this is x minus 5 will be equal to negative 8. X minus 5 equals, because this is negative 1, minus 1 gives you negative 8. So x minus 5 equals to negative 8. So you take negative 5 to the right hand side, you'll be having x is equals to negative 8 plus 5, and that gives you negative 3. And therefore the point D, it is negative 3, 5. So you locate a point negative 3, 5. So this is how you want to identify D, so that you know D will be there. Then from there you join to make a parallelogram. So you score your 2 marks, one for identifying this and another one for drawing the points. Then from there you are asked that we determine the gradient of line AB. Already I've done it because it's a change in y over change in x, which is, I've said it is 3 plus 1. Because it's 3 minus 1, that means 3 plus 1 over negative 7 minus 1, this is 4 over negative 8, that gives you negative half. So that is the gradient of this AB. Then the equation, you're asking to find the equation of line AB. This line AB, the equation of line AB in form of y equals to mx plus c, where m and c are constants. So first of all, we let another point xy, like I've done here. I've tried to explain that we let another point xy to be on AB. If we let xy to be on AB and xy to be even at this point or a point outside there, whichever place. So if we let a point xy to be on the same line AB, so that means the gradient, remember using that same point xy and n of this, either 1, negative 1 or negative 7 and 3, we get the same. If we use n point and another point xy, we will get the same gradient. So the same gradient, which is negative half, so we'll say negative half equals to y minus, if I use this one, if I use this point, that is negative 7 and 3, so it will be y minus 3 all over x minus 7. So we shall have negative half equals to y minus 3 all over x plus 7. So we cross multiply, it is 2 to this point, it will be 2 into brackets y minus 3, that gives you 2y. If you open the bracket, minus 6, 2y minus 6 equals to negative 1 into x plus 7. If you open negative 1 to x, it will be negative x, then negative 1 to 7, it will be negative 7. So we shall have negative x minus 7. So 2y minus 6 is equals to negative x minus 7. And therefore, if you take 6 this other side, it will be 2y equals to negative x minus 7 plus 6. So negative 7 plus 6 gives you negative 1. So we shall be having 2y equals to negative x minus 1. But the form we are told is y equals to mx, so we make sure we remain with only y here. So we divide by 2 all through. If you divide by 2 all through, we shall remain with y equals to negative half, x minus half. So that is the equation in this form. Then you go to the next question, that is part C of the question, is that another line L is perpendicular to CD. Is perpendicular. Sorry, we are told that another line L is perpendicular to CD. So we have CD here and a line which is perpendicular to CD here. At this point we call it 1, 3. At that point where at the point 1, 3, that is what we are told. So the equation of L. So we determine the equation of L, that is a perpendicular line to CD. So first of all, we need to note that the gradient of CD equals the gradient of AB because they are parallel. So they are equal. And even this gradient is equal to this gradient. So they are parallel, the gradients are equal. And therefore, the gradient I'll get, remember, I have this gradient. I need now to find the gradient of the perpendicular line. And the gradient of perpendicular line, we know that m1 times m2 equals to -1. And therefore, gradient of CD equals to gradient of AB, which is -half. So we write gradient of L to be m, and therefore -half times m will give you -1. So m equals to 2 because we times the 2 over -1 times 2 over -1, negative and negative cancel, so we remain with 2. M is 2. And therefore, if we use that gradient and another point x, y, with 0.13, so we shall be having 2 over 1 equals to y minus 3 over x minus 1. So we cross multiply, it will be y minus 3 equals to 2x minus 2. Y minus 3 equals to 2x minus 2. So y equals to 2x plus 1. But remember, this is in the form y equals to mx plus c. But we are told in this form ax plus by equals to c. If you leave at this point y equals to 2x plus 1, we have here 3 marks. You could have scored only 2 marks, but you lose the answer mark because you are told in the form ax plus by equals to c. And therefore, you need to have it in the form given. So what you are supposed to do in this case is that we rearrange in the form. We need ax to be on the left hand side, so we bring this. If you bring if we bring this, I can do this. I can bring this this other side, so that I bring y this other side, so it will be -1 equals to 2x minus y. So that's the same as 2x minus y equals to -1, and it will be in this form we are told. Or even if you brought everything this other side, so that you remain with 1, so it will be y minus 2x equals to +1. But remember, we need in the form ax plus by, so it is y minus 2x. So we need to rearrange again. It will be minus 2x plus y equals to +1. So we divide by a negative all through, so that we remove, it will be still in this way. So that is 2x minus y equals to -1. So that is the form. Then the coordinate of y-intercept of line L. Remember, you are told the coordinate of the y-intercept. You have not been asked about the y-intercept. If you are asked about y-intercept, we know at y-intercept x is 0. So at this line, we know x will be 0. So that means if we substitute where there is an x which is 0, so we shall be 0 times 2, that gives you 0. So minus y equals to -1 divided by a negative all through, y equals to +1. So y equals to, that's what exactly I've done here, y equals to +1. Remember, y equals to 1, that becomes the y-intercept. If the question was, you find the y-intercept, then you could have said y equals to 1. But you are told the coordinate of the y-intercept. So at y-intercept, we know x is 0. So the coordinate is 0, 1. Coordinate is 0, 1. So that is how you were supposed to answer that question and score your 10 marks without much struggle. So we go to question number 19. The figure below shows the velocity time graph of a car journey. So we have the y-axis here. That's velocity in meters per second, and the x-axis is time in terms of t. So the car starts from rest. It starts from rest and accelerates at 2.75 meters per second square. That is the acceleration at this point from rest to this point. The acceleration is 2.75 meters per second square for t seconds. It accelerated for this time t. Then we are asking that until its speed is at t, so it accelerated up to 22 meters per second. It then travels at this velocity until 40 seconds after starting. So it travels for 40 seconds from starting. At this speed, it goes for 40 seconds. Then it breaks and brings it to rest uniformly. The total journey takes 840 meters long and takes t seconds. We calculate the value of t. So first of all, you realize that to get the value of t, we know the acceleration. We know that acceleration is the final velocity minus initial velocity over the time taken. The final velocity, remember, is 22 minus initial velocity, which is 0, or our time taken, which is t. That gives you 2.75. That is exactly 2.75 equals to 22 minus 0 over t. So that means 22 minus 0 is 22. 22 all over t equals to 2.75. So if I make t the subject, then we shall have t equals to 22 all over 2.75. That gives you 8 seconds. 8 seconds is the value of t. Then the distance traveled during the first t seconds. The distance, it is the area under the curve. The area under the curve will be now a half times the base, which is 8, times the height, which is 22. So it is a half times 8 times 22, and that gives you 8 meters. Then the value of t. So we know that area under the whole curve gives you the total distance. Area under the whole curve gives you the total distance, and the total distance is 847 meters. So that means this is a trapezium. So we shall be having a half times the base, half times the height, which is 22, into a. If we use a to be t capital, because this is we are told that the whole journey took t seconds, so up to this point is t, from 0 to this point is t capital seconds. So we shall say that a half times height, which is 22, into brackets t plus from here to here. Remember, this is 8 and this is 40, so from here to here is 40 minus 8, which is 32. So it will be, that is like I've said, it will be 847. That's the total distance. Is half times 22 into t plus 32. So 847 will be, this is 11. 11, you open the brackets here, we shall have 11t plus 11 times 32 gives you 352. So we take this other side, so it will be 847 minus 352, we get 495 equals to 11t. So t will be 495 divided by 11, and that gives you 45 seconds. So that is the total time taken, that is the value of t, the total time taken for the whole journey. Then the final deceleration. Remember, I told final deceleration, it is now, remember, it is final velocity minus initial velocity. For deceleration, remember, this is where it decelerated to 0. So it is 0 minus 22, or at the time, that is 45 minus 40 is 5. So we shall be having 0 minus 22 or 45 minus 40, that is negative 22 over 5, which is 4.4 meters squared. That's the deceleration. You can write it in positive form because you are talking about deceleration. Or you can say that's the deceleration equals to 4.4 meters per second. Or you can say acceleration is equals to negative 4.4 meters per second square. Then we go to the next question. That is question number 20. It is talking about a school in Meru Central decided to buy a school in Meru Central decided to buy X calculators for its students for a total cost of 16,200 Kenyan shillings. The supplier agreed to offer a discount of Kenyan shillings, 60 Kenyan shillings per calculator. The school was then able to get 3 extra calculators for the same amount of money. Write an expression in terms of X for the original price of each calculator. Remember, there were X calculators and the cost was 16,200 for all of them. So each calculator was costing 16,200 divided by X. Divided by X, that is the original, you get 1 mark. Price for each calculator after the discount. Remember the original, the discount, now the price, the discount, there were 3 more calculators. So that means after the discount, the price became, of each calculator became, that is 16,200, because that is the amount he had. All over X plus 3, the 3 extra calculator. So that is the amount now he bought for each calculator after the discount. Then form an equation in X and hence determine the number of calculators the school bought. So that means Remember, we are told that he was given a discount of 60 shillings per calculator. So that means 16,200, the original price, minus the discount, which is 60 per calculator, could still give the amount he bought, the new discount. That is 16,200 after the discount, which was 16,200 over x plus 3. This is the amount after the discount. So that means this minus 60, which was the discount, gives you this one, the price of each calculator after the discount. So if you do that, you can see I've put it over 1 so that I find the LCM of these two on the left hand side, gives me x. Then I ask myself, x comes here 1 times 16,200 gives you 16,200 minus 1 goes to x times 60 gives you 60x. So this is equal to 16,200 over x plus 3. So that means if I cross multiply, it will be x plus 3 into 16,200 into that. That is x plus 3 into this equals to x times this, which is 16,200x. So that means if I expand this x into all of this plus 3 into all of this, that gives you 16,200. You open this bracket, you'll find that 16,200x, because if you open that, then this 60 that minus 60x squared, then plus 3 times this gives you 14,600. Then minus 3 times 60 go on 8x equals to 16,200x. So that this and this will cancel, because if you bring this there as one side, or if you take this other side, it will be 0 and will remain with negative 60x squared plus 48,600 minus 180x equals to 0. So we divide by negative, you'll be having 60x squared minus, now plus, here become plus and this becomes minus, plus 180x minus this, so that if you divide by 60 all through, you'll find x squared plus 3x minus 810 equals to 0. You use the formula method of quadratic equation to find the value of x. So x equals to minus b squared plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac or over 2a. So we have minus, that is minus b, that's minus 3 plus or minus b squared, that is 3 squared, which is 9, minus 4ac. Because of this negative, it will be plus. So 4 times 8, 10 gives you 3240. All over 2a, a is 1, so it is 2. So it's minus 3 plus or minus the square root of this. When you add, you get 57 all over 2. So that gives you 54. If you add, it's 57 minus 3, which is 54 over 2. Or negative 3 minus 57 gives you negative 60 over 2. So it is 27 or negative 30. But the number of calculators cannot be negative, and therefore the number of calculators were 27 positive. That is what we are asked to find, and that is what you are supposed to do. Then the next question is that we can get the discount offered at the school as a percentage. So the discount offered was, the initial cost was 16,200. That is 16,200 over 27 or over x, of course, which was 27, gives you 600, and there was a discount of 60. So the percentage discount is 60 over the original times 100, and that gives you 10%. We go to the question number 21. A solid is made up of a conical frustum and a hemispherical top. The slant height of the frustum is 8 cm. This is the slant height of the frustum. And it is base radius is 3.5 cm. If the radius of the hemispherical top is 4.2 cm, find the area of the circular base. Circular base, it is just pi r squared. Pi r squared, which is 20 over 7 times 3.5 times 3.5, that gives you 38.5 centimeter square. So you get only 2 marks there. And then from there we ask the curved surface of the frustum. Remember, curved surface of the frustum, if we prolong this, we make a cone. If we make a cone, so we need to find the curved surface of a cone. It is pi RL. Remember the larger cone minus a smaller cone here. So pi RL is the curved surface area of a cone. So it is pi RL minus pi RL small. So that is pi RL minus pi RL small. So we need to find the L. The L, that is the larger. Remember this is, if I make here, then I prolong this, I make this X. That is the slant, the larger slant height will be 8 plus X. And the small slant height will be X. So if I use similarity and enlargement, then I talk about 4.2, that is the larger radius, all over the 3.5 equals to larger slant height, which is 8 plus X, all over smaller slant height, which is X. So you cross multiply, you get 4.2X equals to 28. That is 8 times 3.5 gives you 28 plus 3.5X. So right comes together. 4.2 minus 3.5 gives you 0.7. X equals to 28. We divide by 0.7, you get X as 40. And therefore, if X is 40, meaning that the larger L is 48 and the smaller L is 40. So curved surface area will be pi RL minus pi RL, which is 22 over 7 times 4.2, that is for this larger, times 48, that is the larger slant height. Then minus 22 over 7 times 3.5 times 40. So you get 603.6 minus 440 gives you 193.6 centimeters square. And that is the curved surface area of the frustrum. Then we talk about the hemispherical surface. The hemispherical surface. Hemispherical surface, remember hemisphere or a sphere, the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So hemisphere is a half of a sphere, which is a half of 4 pi r squared, and that half of 4 is 2. So it will be 2 pi r squared. That's the area of a hemisphere. Hemisphere, remember, it is the one with the radius of 4.2 because it's at the top. So surface area of the hemisphere is 2 times 22 over 7 times r squared, which is 4.2 times 4.2. That gives 776.16 centimeters squared. And then we are told part B is that a similar solid has a total surface area of 81.51 centimeters squared. Determine the radius of its base. The radius of it is base. So we need to use what we call the total surface area of the solid that we have done, because it's a similar solid. The total surface area is this area plus this area plus the area of the base. That is the top radius. At the top area, that's the hemisphere, plus the frustrum, that is the frustrum area, then plus the base area, that's the total surface area. If you add all of them, gives you 1008.26 centimeters square. And therefore, we can find the area scale factor because we are told they are a similar one. So we use area scale factor. We say that this area, total area, all over this area, which is the total area of 2, that is the area scale factor, which is 12.36977. That is our area scale factor. If we know the area scale factor, we can find the linear scale factor because we are asked to determine the radius of the base of the smaller. So that if I find the linear scale factor, I need to find the radius. I need to find the linear scale factor. I need to find the square root of the area scale factor. Linear scale factor is equal to square root of the area scale factor, which gives you 3.517. So that means if I use that 3.517, that is the area scale factor, equals to the radius of the larger, of the base of the larger, which is 3.5, or the radius of the base of the smaller, which we don't know this solid now. That is the smaller solid, that is R. So that means if I make R the subject, R times 3.175 equals to 3.5. So to get R equals to 3.5 all over 3.517, which is 0.995 centimeters, or which is approximately equal to 1 centimeter. That is the radius of the base of this similar solid, which is smaller solid. We go to question number 22. And number 22, we are talking about the table below shows the amount in shillings of pocket money in given to students in a particular school. So we have students who are given between 201 shillings to 219 shillings are 5. Students who are given between 220 to 229 shillings are 13. All this is given. Then we are asked to state the model class. The model class is a class with the highest frequency. The one with the highest frequency is the one with 32. So the model class is 240 to 249. Then we calculate the amount of pocket money given to these students, the nearest shillings. They calculate the mean amount, mean. To get the mean, we need to arrange now this class. We arrange this class like I have done here. Then we find the midpoints. The midpoints, you add this and this, you divide by 2, this and this, you divide by 2. You get it as 210, 224.5, 234.5. You get all the midpoints. Then we need to write these frequencies, the number of students, that is the frequencies for all of them. Then we need to find fx. Fx, you multiply these two. Fx, you find all of them. You find also, you need to find the cumulative frequency to assist you answer this question. That is the median. The cumulative frequency will assist you in answering the median. So after you've done all this, we know that we need to find the cumulative frequency of this summation of f. We add all of this, which is the same as cumulative frequency, gives you 150. Then summation of fx, you add all of this, summation of fx, if you add all of them, you get 37,802.5. Then we also need to find the mean. The mean we know is equal to summation of fx out of a summation of f. So our mean will be equal to 37,802.5 divided by 150, and that gives you 252.07 shillings. So that is the amount of money that is averagely each student was being given 252 shillings.017. Now we can get the median money, the median amount of money that was given to each student. To get the median, we need to know the median class. To get the median class is a half of the cumulative frequency, which is a half of 150 is 75. Now we look at the cumulative frequency and see where 75 can lie. 75 cannot be on 73. 75 can be on 99. It cannot be on 73 because 73 is less. So it can only be where there is a 75 or where there is a more than 75. So it can only lie here on cumulative frequency. So if it lies here, so our median class will be 250 to 259. So the median class is 250 to 259. And therefore, to get what we call the median, it is L1 plus N over 2 minus CA over FM into I. L1 means the lower limit of the median class. N stands for cumulative frequency or the sum of frequency. So for median, we divide by 2, then minus cumulative frequency above the median class. This is cumulative frequency. CA stands for cumulative frequency above the median class. Our median class is here. So cumulative frequency above the median class is 73. Then FM is the frequency of the median class. This is our median class. The frequency of median class is 26. So that means we take L1, that is the lower limit of this is, remember, if it is 201 to 219, then the next is 220 to 229, next is 230. They have limits. So the limits, there is a 1, the least unit of measurement in this case is 1 because they are whole numbers. We divide by 2 is 0.5. So for lower limit, we subtract 0.5. For upper limit, we add 0.5. So the lower limit of this class is 250 minus 0.5, which gives you 249.5. 249.5 plus, that is N over 2 cumulative frequency is 150 over 2 is 75 minus cumulative frequency above, I said above the median class is 73. Then all of the frequency of the median class, which is 26, then times I is the class width. So the class width here, remember upper limit is 259.5 minus 249.5. 259.5 minus 249.5 because that's the lower. If you minus, you get 10. So that is times 10. So if you get all that, you calculate 249.5 plus, this gives you 2 out of 26 times 10. So that gives you 0.76, or that plus 249.5 gives you 250.269. 250.269. So that is our median. And then you score all those 10 marks. The number 23, the figure below shows triangle XYZ in which line XY equals to 5, YZ is 13.4, and the size of angle XYZ is 57.7. So we calculate the line XZ, we look for XZ. Now that we have this and this and there is an inclusive angle here, we use the cosine rule. Cosine rule, we know that C squared equals to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos C. And therefore, XZ squared will be equal to this line squared plus this squared minus 2 times this cos of 57.7. So that's what we have done in this. So we substitute all of this. This 13.4 squared plus 5 squared, it gives you 204.56 minus 2 times 13.4 times 5 times the cos of 57.7 gives you 71.603. We subtract, we get 132.957. We look for the square root to find the XZ, which gives you 11.53 centimeter. 11.53 centimeter. So we go ahead and calculate the size of XZY, this angle. If we know now this line and we also know this angle, we can use what we call the sine rule. Sine rule states that A over sine A equals to B over sine B. So XZ, this XZ over sine of 57.7 equals to 5 over sine of Z, or XZY, or sine XZY. That is what we have said here. So that is XZ is 11.53 over sine 57.7 is equals to 5 over sine XZY. So we cross multiply, it will be 11.53 sine XZY equals to 5 sine 57.7. So that means we divide by 11.53 to remain with sine XZY. Sine XZY equals to 5 sine 57.7 over 11.3, which gives you 0.3665. So XZY equals to sine inverse of 0.3665. Then angle XZY equals to sine inverse of that, which gives you 21.499, which is the same as 21.5 degrees. So that is the angle that we are asking. Now for us to find angle YXZ, that is angle YXZ. Now that we have this and this, we know angle of a triangle add up to 180, and therefore that angle will be 180. That is why it is 2 marks. It will be 180 minus, you add the 2, that gives you 100.8 degrees. Finally, question number 24, it is about differentiation, that is finding the turning points and the nature of the turning points. The question is, the equation of a curve is y equals to 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 12x minus 9. We find the gradient of the curve when x is equal to 3. We know that the gradient is dy over dx. We differentiate, it is 2 times 3, which gives you 6. And we reduce the power by 1, so it is 2 times 3, which gives you 6, and the power reduces by 1, it remains x squared minus the power reduces by 2 times 3, 9 is 18, the power reduces by 1, it remains x power 1, so that's x power 1 is x, so it will be x 6x squared minus 18x. Then remember this one, it is x power 1. 1 times 12 is 12, and 1 minus 1 is 0, so x power 0 is 1, so we shall remain with 12. But when you differentiate a constant, the answer is 0. So we shall be having 6x squared minus 18x plus 12. Then when x is 3, we substitute the value of 3 here. For x, we substitute here. It will be 3 squared, not cubed. This is wrong. I was supposed to have, yeah, it is squared. It's supposed to be squared because whatever I've done is correct. It's only that I did cubed instead of squared. So it will be 3 squared, which is 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Then minus 18 times 3, which is 54. Then plus 12. 54 minus 54 is 0, plus 12 is 12. So that is the gradient. And then the turning point of the curve. For us to know, we know that at turning point dy over dx equals to 0. dy over dx equals to 0. And therefore 6x squared, which we did here, 6x squared minus 18x plus 12 is 0. So you find that this one forms a quadratic equation. We use the quadratic formula method to find the value of x. So x will be equal to minus b. Minus 18 becomes 18 positive, plus or minus square root of b squared, that's 18 squared, you get 324, minus 4ac, minus 4 times 6 is 24, 24 times 12 is 288, all over a, all over 2a, 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 6 is 12. So we shall be having 18 plus or minus the square root of, this is 36 when you subtract, which is 6, then all over 12. So we shall be having 18 plus 6, that is 24, all over 12, which is 2, x equals to 2, or 18 minus 6 is 12, 12 over 12 is 1, or x is 1. So when x is 2, we substitute in the original equation to know the turning point. We substitute in this original equation here, we substitute with 2. When x is 2, so we substitute here like I have done. When x is 2, we substitute everything, we get y to be negative 5. And when x is 1, we substitute in the same original equation, we get y to be negative 4. And therefore the turning points are 1, negative 4. 1, negative 4, and 2, negative 5, and 2, negative 5. So you score your 3 marks. Then from there, the nature of the turning points. To know the nature of the turning points, you can use that table that you know, or you differentiate the equation for the second time. The first time differentiation gives you 6x squared minus 18x plus 12. So if you differentiate second time, it will be 12x now minus 18. It will be 12x minus 18. That's second differentiation. And now we know the turning points 1 and negative 4 and 2 negative 5. Now when x is 1, what is the second differentiation? When x is 1, you substitute here, it will be 12 minus 18 gives you negative 6. Gives you negative 6. And negative 6 is less than 0. It's negative. Is less than 0. When it is less than 0, that is a maximum point. So that means when it is less than 0, second differentiation is less than 0, that is a maximum point. And therefore, 1, negative 4 is a maximum point. We do the same, we substitute for 2, that is for 2, negative 5, in the second differential equation. If we substitute x as 2 in the second differential equation, 2 times 12 is 24, 24 minus 18 is 6, and 6 is greater than 0. When it is greater, the second differential equation is substituted with the value of x is greater than 0, then that is a minimum point. So 2, negative 5 is a minimum point. Then we sketch the curve. Remember we said to sketch the curve, we need to find the y-intercept, the x-intercept, and also the turning points. Y-intercept, x-intercept, and the turning point, and also knowing their nature. So we have the turning points, but we don't have the x and y-intercept. The y-intercept, we can find it because we know that at y-intercept, x is 0. So we substitute in the original equation at y-intercept, x is 0. So x being 0 here, we shall remain with y as negative 9. So y-intercept is negative 9. Y-intercept is negative 9. You can see in my graph, y-intercept is negative 9. So that is why we have. Then you can look at the equation and see that you cannot find the x-intercept because at x-intercept y is 0. So if y is 0 here, so this is a cubic equation. A cubic equation, if we did not have a negative 9 here, we could have solved it. It could be easy to solve it at this level. But at this level, that is high school level, unless in your syllabus you cannot solve this equation when it is equal to 0. Because if it was there was no negative 9, then you could have factored out x. You could have factored out x to get a quadratic equation that will allow you, so x could be 0, and a quadratic equation you solve it to get the other two values of x. But for this case, you could not solve it, and therefore you cannot find the x-intercept. Leave the x-intercept alone in this case. Now use what you have. You have now the y-intercept and the turning points. The y-intercept, you plot it as negative 9, and then the turning points you have 1 and negative 4, and also you have 2 and negative 5. We know that obviously we said that this one is the maximum point, so that means this curve was moving from this point and it turned at this point, and it turned this being a minimum point this way upwards. So that is how you sketch. Because it's just a sketch, you score your 2 marks without much struggle. So that is how simple a paper can look like, and that is how simple even KCSE can be. If you follow these tutorials to the end, like I'm going to do, by January, I'll be doing series 2, paper 1. But before then, I shall have done a paper 2 series 1. I shall have done a paper 2 series 1. Just subscribe for you to get updates on when I upload a paper. Thank you for listening, and ensure you subscribe. Thank you.